It is Let's Talk Arts and Entertainment on WMAY. And what you just saw is a preview of Wicked Waltz, Boston Dip in Springfield. And that is a show that you will be able to watch this weekend. I'm here with the director, Dennis Thread. How you doing, Dennis?
I'm great. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
All right. I'm doing pretty good. So this show, this is the week that it is opening. We talked a bit about this a couple weeks ago. So just probably a short recap here. What is the show about, and what can people expect to see at Wicked Waltz?
Okay. It's 1924, and this is a true story. Joplin, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
The council bans dancing, closes all the dance clubs. This is in the middle of the wild 20s.
Yeah.
So they say that the police chief sees a couple dancing a dance that he thinks is profane and immoral. The dance happens to be called the Boston Dip, and it had been around for quite a while, and it's a variation on the waltz. They saw a couple dancing this, and they said, "Oh my God, we're all going to perdition. We need to shut everything down." And they did for several months.
Mm.
Okay, that much is true.
Yeah.
Now we add a character in here.
Mm-hmm.
A woman who is a former dancer, well known around the world stage, concert stage, what might be called the higher vaudeville. She's retired now. She's living in Joplin, Missouri, teaching. And she sees it in the newspaper that they banned dancing about the Boston Dip. And she remembers a night in Springfield, her hometown, where she grew up in 1871 when she was somewhere around 20. And she remembers a night that changed her family, and particularly changed her father. So that's the envelope of the story. Then we go into her memory, and we dredged up this 1873 comedy, which is really a screwball comedy. It's really a long comedy act. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
I call this place, since we're doing it for Edwards Place and the Art Association, so there's a historical part of it. Everything's based in history. There's a lot of text that we brought up. A lot of imagery is based in history. Then there's the Art Association, which is connected with Edwards Place, and that's the art part. And so the backgrounds, for example, by Laura K. Coffey, are based on Impressionist paintings of the 19th century.
Oh, nice.
So it's 20% history, 20% fine art. What's left, 60% of mayhem and madness.
That is awesome.
Now we shot it in Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Because why not? And it's available. Right. Everybody's available. But it was shot like a film. Now I have a history of directing plays. I started directing plays. I actually started a theater when I was just out of high school in Springfield many years ago.
Nice.
I moved away and lived in New York and Texas and back to New York, and did a lot of directing. But more recently, most of my work has been in film, video, that kind of thing. So I decided I would shoot it like a film, which allows us to bring in a lot of visuals beyond what you can typically do with Zoom. Now you saw some of the backgrounds, which are very rich with color, dripping with color. All of those backgrounds were taken from photographs of Edwards Place. So they're actually Edwards Place, but then altered by Laura K. Coffey, who's a local artist.
Oh, wow.
And then we add on these layers. You can see that I found footage from old films, from various places, pulling images off, and then you layer them over on top of each other. And since it's Zoom, we're not dancing. It's not like on stage, but this is the movement part of it. This is the place where you see the dance, and it all punctuates the action. What's going on inside a character's head when she's imagining herself suddenly, waltzing to the Blue Danube Waltz. You suddenly see these images inside of her head, and it's an overlay. So I'm very excited about it. I love making movies. I love the theater, but the whole process of making movies is very different. As I think the actors who are terrific, all of them found out.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's super cool. That's yeah, you're doing theater and you're doing film with that, and it's and it is based on the play there, but a lot of original elements going into it, and so that is super cool. That's so how was then the rehearsal process for this? Because it seems with and a lot of shows that have been done virtually this past little over a year, it's been the way you do it, you don't meet over Zoom, or maybe you meet in person. And so how was that whole process, rehearsing it and then eventually performing it as you filmed it for?
Well, everything was done by Zoom. The only time we all got together, actually, Debbie Iams, who does a lot of costume here, she's terrific.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She came in and I just asked all the right questions. I mean, she's so smart, and came up with the costumes for it. So the only time we're in the same place at the same time, socially distanced. It was only a couple of weeks ago. So, a lot of us are vaccinated, so it's a little easier. That was the only time we all got together for the costume fittings. But we did everything on Zoom. Now the rehearsal process was really quick. We familiarized each other. I talked with the actors. We ran through it a couple of times. They went away and memorized their lines. Again, this is basically how you do it in the film world. Right. And then we shot the scenes one by one. And some of it's out of order, the way you would do in a film, because of people's availabilities and things like that. So we'd break it down into different scenes. Most of them are very short. And we run it 2 or 3 times. I'd give them some directions. We might make some adjustments. Bing, bang, bong, 3 or 4 takes. Usually the last one is the best one. On to the next one. Mm-hmm. So it's, when you're shooting a film, there's different formulas for it, but for each minute, you're going to spend, on a feature film, you're going to spend, hours and hours or days per minute, but for, a smaller film, you could easily spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours per minute for running minute. Now the running time on this is it's in fluctuation because I'm still editing. Right. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere in there. There's a lot of extra material beyond what the actors did, all the layering and the other visuals that you saw. Yeah. So we did it pretty quickly. We really shot it in 3 nights and an afternoon. Oh wow! And then as we're going along, I'm putting it into the timeline and editing it just like a film, and then adding the effects, adding soundtrack in it. I think there's 11 different versions of the Blue Danube Waltz.
Oh, nice.
Including one on a child's toy piano, and then there's a big surprise at the end. I found a goodies for the closing one, but I'll save that for a surprise.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's cool. That's really awesome. That's yeah, no, that's really interesting with like something like the Danube Waltz. I mean, there's so many different variations of it. Yeah, I think of it. Even the one that plays in the trailer is one I don't think I'd heard. So that's really cool. And
it's John Philip Sousa from 1905.
Oh, nice. That's straight from the record. That's like about maybe like around the time they're at least within a couple decades of it. But yeah, no, that's awesome. That is super cool. Got all that and all the expressionist backgrounds. Those look, put that up there again, because I mean those are those are really cool, because I love the and then intercut with the footage of everything. I mean it looks flows really well. So it's looking just from the preview looks really great there. So you're welcome, of course. So how will people be able to watch this then? Where will they be able to get their tickets, and how will they and what will be the way that they'll be able to watch it on Friday? So this Friday and Saturday, that's the 4th and 5th of June.
Uh, and it's a benefit for the Edwards Place, which again is part of the Art Association, and it's at 7 o'clock. Tickets are only $5. All the money goes to Edwards Place and the Art Association, and you can buy tickets online, and they're available at various places. But I know if you go to the Art Association's website under events, you can find a link. Also, I think if you just go on Facebook and clicked on Art Association or Wicked Waltz, you'd probably find a link to it pretty quickly.
All right, awesome. So you can go through there on their Facebook page, or you could go to springfieldart.org/events and get your tickets there. And just one last thing. So once you're done editing it and putting it together and once it streams, what do you got planned coming up, or are you just trying to get through this first, and we'll see what comes along?
Well, I'm trying to get through this first, and it's been fun, and frankly, doing a movie is a lot of work, and of a very different kind for a lot of theaters, but it's fun work. I'm not quite sure. I'm looking ahead at the summer, and I'm seeing a lot of things are opening up a bit. I know it's hard for the major institutions to get launched, like the Muni or Theater in the Park, and I don't know. I think I'd like to do something later in the summer, maybe even just something casual, like doing a reading or two somewhere in outside, make it a kind of a picnic thing, or early evening thing. My specialty in terms of theater is really the classics. It's Shakespeare and his contemporaries. There's a lot of great stuff that hasn't been explored, and I think it's great to expose not just an audience but also to performers to this great works. Missy Thibodeau Thompson at the university did a great job with Twelfth Night it's almost 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
And I've talked to several different people, and they thought that would be a lot of fun. Try to keep it casual.
Yeah.
But just, as a way to kind of keep your chops going, and maybe entertain a few people along the way, and make it festive. Probably keep it small, just in terms of, continue to be concerned about exposure and things like that. But that's an idea. I'm not quite sure. It's an idea at this point. I'll talk to you probably next week or so, and let you know if I've got more traction with that one. But that's what I'm thinking about for the rest of my summer.
Absolutely. Okay.
And I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. The thing with the classics, I said this about 12th Night and I believe Midsummer Night's Dream was a bit ago there. I mean, the classics, so many of those stories, their plot lines and characters have been adapted in so many different ways. People see the classics and they're like, wow, I kind of know the plot to this and kind of how this goes, because they are the classics, so people know them. So it's always good to get those back into the back into the theater lexicon, I guess. I don't know, but so
that's the plan. So we'll see how it goes.
That sounds good. Awesome. All right. So then, in the meantime, you can watch the Wicked Waltz this weekend. You can go to the springfieldart.org/events or find it through Facebook. Dennis, thank you so much for joining me. We break a leg this weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Great. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. So let's talk arts and entertainment on WMAY.